Merkabra.
All right, Will. So you have a background in music, as far as I understand. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I was in the music industry since I really was 18 to about 26, 27. And, it was grassroots. I had a recording studio in my bedroom when I was living with my parents. It was a very it was a good learning experience, just kind of growing into becoming a man. It was very ego driven, party type music. But I learned a lot of good lessons about myself and was able to kind of travel the world nationally, internationally. It paid for itself, which was nice. It was hip hop. Then it kind of transitioned to reggae hip hop, and we were doing live performances. um, it was a huge kind of catalyst to launch me into my quote unquote higher awareness journey. It was very much about the self and getting to know myself on just that base level. It was very egoic, and I would say even healthy ego as well. That also led me into drug addiction as well towards the end of my career, which was the catalyst of my journey. I have no regrets on my music industry. I mean, obviously, the music is not something that I would really, want to play for my daughter, but I don't shelter it from her. It's vulgar at times, parental advisory stickers all over it. But it was something, it was expression, and it was kind of who I was. And we were known for having these huge venues and parties with all types of people from every walk of life, from the hood to the country to the frat houses. And it it really I gained a lot of skills from that era, and it was a fun learning period, which also led me down a dark road, which was the catalyst to an even bigger journey. So that's my music career in a nutshell. And who knows? I might be back doing some conscious hip hop at some point. It's on my list, so we'll see.
I was going to say, with those skills, you would have to keep some of that in your back pocket. Do you still play around with production at all?
A little bit, and actually, you bring up a great point, because when I made that decision to start making content, I inherited some base skills of graphic design, of audio and video editing. I mean, I wasn't an adept, but I wasn't a beginner either. And so, kind of building off of those skills, even, presenting publicly in front of people. I'm, a lot more comfortable probably than the average person, because I've been on stage in front of hundreds of people. So I've kind of, I've worked out these attributes that I can transmute into content creation now. Audio editing, making beats every once in a while. I mean, I have Fruity Loops, I have Pro Tools that I can hop on there once in a while. I have some instruments that I mess around with. So yeah, it's being a musician is a part of my life, just not at that level where it was when I was an active, career MC.
Yeah. I mean, those skills certainly do carry over to what you're doing now with the content creation. We'll talk about that a little bit later, probably, but my son is learning Fruity Loops. It's funny you brought that up. I've
Mm.
had a Fruity Loops crack for many years, like, a cracked version that was like not updated, but it still did the trick. And I learned that's kind of where I cut my teeth. That and like Cool Edit Pro. I don't know if you've heard of that program. It's
I have
old
heard of
school.
that. Yes. Yep.
Totally old
Yep.
school. I actually used it the other day, though. I still use that tool to do things in. I actually heard of that from Richard Grove. They did a podcast on where they were talking about what they use. And back then, I was such a novice that I would just graft anything that gave me a head start, versus just doing the research on your own. So I grabbed that tool. Again, another uh, torrential download of the tool, you know,
Yeah.
and I still have it and I still use it. Fruity Loops, same thing. Those tools, the DAWs or video editing, all seem to have overlapping uh, skills, right? So
That's right.
your career in music is still influencing what you do now, right?
Yeah, it's applicable, those skill sets. And the time frame that I was active was 2000, right? The year 2000 is when I started, making music and generating my own CDs, manufacturing my own CDs and stuff. But back then, I started with analog boards. And it wasn't till, maybe 6 years later where I got my first computer and everything was really full blown digital as far as, music production. Fruity Loops was my first beat making program, and I loved it back then, and it's still pretty cool now. It's came a long way. So it's cool to see even the technology shift. In my case, analog to digital. Social media wasn't really a thing. Well, it was, but it was MySpace. And I remember putting a lot of effort into MySpace, and then my career kind of, I took a leave of absence, and Facebook and all these other platforms started coming up. Back then it was get a deal, get a distribution deal, which I ended up getting one. But nowadays you don't need that, right? You have DistroKid, you have all these other outlets where if you want to be a musician through your own will and care power and skill sets, you can be a one-man band, essentially, right? Make your own beats, do your own production. Of course, unless you're in a band or something, but you could do a lot more in this day and age to express yourself. And that, I think that is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my son will actually be helping to produce this series that we're doing, and
Oh,
he's
cool.
gonna start training. He's on a trip right now, but when he comes back, we're gonna start doing some paid training. So it'd also be like one of his first jobs, and he's gonna start taking these videos that we're producing, these interviews, and he'll run the post production. I'll teach him the whole pre production and how we set it all up and everything, but he's gonna grasp it. I mean, he was doing some live streaming already on YouTube. He had, you know, gaming streaming like the kids do, and
Yeah.
he had people following him and he had people in the audience producing different edits for him of his own content, and it was already started with that. And he's really into the music as well. That's his thing. So he's
Oh, that's
I knew
awesome.
when I was feeding him Fruity Loops and getting him to live stream. Installed OBS, showed him how to use it, and he's been on the computer so much that he gets things real quick.
How
So
old is he?
he's 14.
That's awesome, man. That's great, and it reminds me of my daughter. My daughter's about to be 12 in like a week. But when I came out of the music industry and, I was really kind of into more new age material, I went full blown the opposite spectrum. I was like anti technology. Didn't have a TV, didn't even have a computer, wanted to homestead, and I still want to do those things. There's a balance there. But it was such an imbalance of just a worldview, right? Where technology is all bad. There's obviously that healthy median there. So when it comes to my daughter, I don't shelter technology from her. I'm all about education, and she knows how to use Photoshop. She loves doing her own graphic design. She gets on a little bit of OBS, but she likes StreamYard better. It's easier. It's more user friendly at her stage, but she likes doing her own recordings and stuff like that. And educating our children on tech tools for themselves to express themselves and see what direction they want to go. I think that's important, especially in this day and age.
Absolutely. Well, where did you grow up?
In Northern California, in the East Bay. So a town called Pleasanton,
Nice.
and my parents bought this house. It was a ranch. It had 8 acres, and I pretty much grew up there since I was 6. So, and my parents are still at that ranch.
Nice.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm trying to actually, put a little house back there eventually. So, Dad, if you're listening, come on, let's do it.
Six
So
acres
yeah.
is pretty good. 6 acres is a nice little plot. So, did they do like gardening there and livestock, or like were you raised kind of doing the chores of the land, or are
Oh
they?
yeah. Oh, for sure. Pulling star thistle in the horse pastures, loading hay. I mean, we had chickens and rabbits at some point. The coyotes were really bad, and so that was kind of short lived. But always had horses, which I love, and we always had dogs and cats. No more horses there now. Lots of cats. My mom took in, adopted all these cats, so she takes care of them, and gardening a, a good amount. So my parents have always kind of had a garden there. It's cool. There's a creek in the back. It's a perfect little spot, and it's on the outskirts of a suburb. The Bay Area is extremely, I mean, diverse. There's a lot of variety, is what I'll say. And culturally, what California, especially the Bay Area, right, the home of civil rights, is what it used to be known, is obviously has changed drastically from what it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, to what it is now. The land of California and Northern California, I love. I love that I can go to the desert, I can go to the beach, I can go to the snow, I can go to the redwoods in just a matter of a few hours, right? Or do multiple in one day. It's just the culture and society in the Bay Area is pretty bad.
Yeah, I didn't want to put any words in your mouth. So.
For
It
sure.
sounds like
It's
where you grew up was really nice though, and still is.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's a lot of new homes and new developments are kind of closing even my parents in. Where I live now in Brentwood, it's known as a farming town. This is where a lot of actually the fresh fruit, mainly the corn and the cherries and the apricots, gets distributed all through California. But the farmers are selling their lands, right? They just, Mammon has higher value for these farmers, and their kids don't want to take the land. They sell them to these developers. It is just jam packed full of people, even in the town I'm in now. Same situation where my parents are. They're getting kind of surrounded. It's unincorporated area. It's private property, but it's not incorporated to any kind of county or zone. So there's been many times that they offered a lot of the people in that area money to sell their land, and people out there, at least, they see the value of having land like that. So it's really a diamond in the rough. It's right outside of this suburb. It's easy to get to the city if you need to go to the city, or to town just a few minutes away. But yet you can escape into this oasis that is beautiful, in several mile square radius. So it's nice.
Yeah. How far are you away from there right now?
About 30-40 minutes.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yep. And then from there, well, actually, my location and their location, 40 minutes, 45 minutes to San Francisco, and 20 to 30 minutes to Oakland. Where
Oh,
I'm at now, I'm kind of in between Sacramento and Oakland.
okay.
So it could take me 40 minutes to get to Sac. It can take me 40 minutes to get to Oakland. So I'm right on the water, right on the delta.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, do you still do gardening yourself?
I'm always growing or getting my hands dirty in the dirt. I've been in this new house for almost 3 years. There's a vineyard on the side. It's not mine. I don't have any involvement in that, but I do have some land on that side. So I am growing a few things. I'm always growing some type of veggies. I have goji berries. I have a fig tree that produces fairly nice, and so tomatoes, all types of greens, and but it's a lot smaller, compared to my last home that I was in, where I'm in this nice development and everyone's got their bright green grass, their lawn, and I took mine out and I put 4 6x8 garden beds in the front of my house, and then I put 3 in the backyard. And the amount of food that I could produce was incredible. I mean, it was more than we could eat, so I was giving it to my neighbors. And gardening's always going to be a part of my life. I love it, and hopefully I can get to a bigger plot of land that's more long term and I can really let loose. So I know you have a good amount of property, right? And you're gardening and doing all kinds of things. I've seen some of your videos.
Yeah, we got a couple acres, and I was just out walking in the garden before we started recording this, and things are getting going. Where it's a lot different than it was last year. My wife and I both are into it. We both try to keep the habit every year, right? It's a hard thing to do. Like when spring comes, it just comes up on you, and like life's in the way, and everything has to merge together, and you have to, But then, sort of this time of year, now you can put it down back into a higher gear or something, and the engine's not revving so high. I
Yes.
did a lot more automation this year, so I'm still having to water by hand, but I'm getting helped through irrigation, so I don't have to spend multiple hours a day watering. That's where it's not. I can't do it. Those plants aren't gonna get the care they need, right? Um,
Yes.
did you?
That was a huge
Yeah.
ritual at my old house. You have
Right.
to, I mean, you're out there every day. If you don't, it's going to slip.
Yeah.
And that just became part of my ritual. But absolutely 100% time consuming.
Yeah. So the house you're in now is where you put those raised beds in, like you were talking about.
No, that was my old home.
Okay.
I was at that house for 21 years.
Oh wow.
And yeah, then I left and I'm here. This is more of a temporary spot until I could find
Gotcha.
a more long-term investment where I'm going to be. So, yeah,
Cool.
yes.
Yeah, I
So
did that
less
same
upkeep
thing.
now, smaller garden.
Yeah, I have done that. I had a house in Salt Lake where I ripped out the front and put garden beds in everywhere, and the person who bought that house, actually, that was what appealed to them. They worked at a garden center, so it all worked out in the end. I
Oh,
probably should
right
have
on.
kept the house. I always say that with that particular situation, but uh, you
Yeah.
know. All right. So what is it's like it looks like you trimmed the beard. I was gonna say we're competing here with LD for like the freedom movement's best beards. Now you've trimmed yours up a little bit now. It looks like so. I'll have to see how LD is holding his up right now.
Yeah, I took it down probably from the last time you saw me. It was really low. I cut it a few times and it keeps kind of this is the cycle. I usually max it out right here and then I'll trim it back down. Um, but yeah, the man scarf. It's my daughter wants me to bick my whole face. She's like, "Dad, you look like you're 13 when you do that." I'm like, "I don't want to look like I'm 13. I'm gonna keep some kind of hair on the face." So
So, Will, those that don't know you will not know that you've created a tremendous amount of helpful content on your website, willkeller.com. Going with the self-named title there, same as myself. We trapped ourselves, and it's sort of a trick that we've done, right? Where now we can't escape it. Now we're gonna have to stick to it.
that's right. That's
But
right.
what? Tell me a little bit about your process for creation. It's a little bit
Yeah.
of an open question, but you've been a creative person for many years now.
Mhm.
What are some of the little things you're doing now, or some of like the habits like we were talking about earlier? What you stay sort of in sync with things. Now you're in the video production. What are you doing? What are some of the magic behind the scenes? Is everything on note cards? Like, tell me a little bit about your process, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure. Um, the the most consistent type of content that I do is presentations, whether it be at conferences, private events, or just on my live show. I love the process of creating presentations. It can start by just what I want to do. I go through an intuitive process of writing out an outline, and that consists of obviously a lot of notes, key points that I want to touch on, but I want to build from there, from that rough outline, a logical progression. I like to take people from, if I have my core message, what I want the takeaway to be, how can I expand and lay that out in a logical progression from A to Z. So with that in mind, then I will go onto the computer and start to write out my outline. I don't write out word for word. It's still fragmented in bullet points. And then I'll take that to, Keynote. And as I go through each slide, I'll write a small paragraph. I do like to improv. I like to understand information at a level where I don't really need to read anything. I see the bullet point and then I can riff off that. So that's typically my style. I'll read a little small paragraph on a slide, and then I'll expand and explore that little section. So it's really, the first presentation that I did, it's when I kind of met you for the first time, was at the Seed 4 conference. That was my first virtual conference where I had to make a presentation on Keynote. And that was a very interesting process because I had to do multiple things, write an outline, and still learning myself and what's going to kind of jive with my style. Write an outline, make the slides themselves, and then record it. And, there's multiple ways to do that in every stage. And when I did that presentation, I just did one take, and I did the format that I described, where I have small sections I can read, and then I expand and improv on those slides. And it felt very natural, and I stuck with that. And that's pretty much the method that I've been using, and just kind of evolving it and making it more efficient. I love efficiency. I think there are tools like AI that can increase efficiency, right? Where it's not doing the work for you, but you can use it as a tool. So I would say even now when I make presentations, I'll use ChatGPT as just references or resources to gain leads or information, and then I can go back and source those out and follow up with them. But that's pretty much, how it starts. It's intuitive outline, always with a pen and pad. When I'm on a long drive, I do a lot of driving for work, so I'll write down notes that come to mind, and then I consolidate that and create the logical progression or the formal outline, and then I will start to create the slides and place the slides in that logical progression, and then I will record it. And I love doing it live. I love live presentations. I love the engagement or the Q&A afterwards, and try to just do a one take. So I have not done, actually only one presentation that I had to re-record because I had a tech issue, and I had to do it again. And synchronistically, it was at one of my own conferences, the FUNL Conference, which was a little embarrassing, but hey, it happens. You got to learn from those mistakes. And a lot of interviews, just, podcast interviews. I like interviewing people as well. I do a lot of guest interviews. And then I've been working on a very long a video presentation series. I haven't really even talked about it that much, but I've been working on it for a couple years. Every time I start to make headway, conferences start coming up and I start to transition into presentations. But I'm looking forward to this because it's going to kind of be a magnum opus where I can tell, very similar to Mark Passio, where he says start at podcast 1 and work your way all the way through. I took that same idea and made visual aids, made kind of smaller portions to digest 15-minute videos where I take someone to, again, that logical progression. What is truth, teachability, consciousness, work them way all the way up to natural law, true freedom, etc. And that'll be a playlist, right? It's the seeker series, and then along with that comes the speaker series. Titles are still up, for consideration, but where I will talk about more tech avenues on how to create content and how to put a message out there. So I try to be versatile. I love learning and I love evolving myself. So learning from my mistakes, getting better, and becoming more efficient.
Nice. Thank you for giving us that rundown. So it does start on notepads then.
Oh yeah.
I love it. I love
Yes.
it. That's awesome.
You like that? Yeah, I know people, they're um, everything's on the computer. Everything's on the computer. But I am that guy that has a tote of notebooks filled with notes. Notes from listening to other people's podcasts, notes that have come to me, ideas. Would it be more efficient if I used something like Notion, where I had this digital or virtual second brain where I can search keywords? Oh yeah, that would be fantastic. But I'm very hands-on, so I like to be in the moment, intuitively, in writing down notes. I think some of my best ideas come to me when I'm like that. So I continue that process.
Cool. Yeah, I recently started back up on the just like 3x5 cards. And then I have like these little containers that are made for 3x5 cards. And I use those for these containers for all kinds of stuff. Like even just like organizing a bunch of little things that are around on your desk. You could at least put them in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, anyway, so
excellent.
getting your ideas out there. I like this idea, this series you're talking about. I'm really looking forward to that. Sounds like we'll be incorporating some of those techniques. Like, I also look forward to doing some work on helping younger people get your ideas out of your head and have a way to process it. Like, if you don't have that, you're not getting the messages out and you're not writing them down. You're really missing a large part of the process that you just described, which is so a question I think I'd like to ask a number of different people to see what their creative process is. But I bet you that it's somewhat the structure, the foundation is linked back to something similar, right?
Oh,
To a
absolutely. And I
notepad.
have talked to so many people that say, "Oh, I have so many great ideas and so many things I want to convey," even within, the truth, freedom, natural law community, but they don't have the skill sets, and that is a huge hindering, in my opinion. Um, People easily get burnt out or give up if they don't have that know-how. That's why something like, Richard Grove with autonomy, or Mark Passio with how to become the true media, more of those type of seminars or education, I think, is extremely valuable.
Yeah, so you've taken Mark's How to Become the True Media course, I assume.
That's Yep, I sure have.
Multiple times have you gone through it?
Multiple times. I made the investment for the first one. It was incredible. Learned a lot of great things. Loved the interaction and the questions the students, bring up. You get to interact with Mark. That's fantastic. Mark's a great teacher, so that is a great. He's an adept at various topics, and especially tech knowledge. And then being onboarded on the One Great Work Network after that first seminar gives us a scholarship to return to all future seminars. So I kept going, and then ending up at the second season helping Mark out with moderation of those events, and I've continued that. And not only moderating those seminars, but also being a student as well. Every year I learn more stuff. Tech obviously changes, so there's new attributes that come up, and solutions that come up in those seminars, and new people, and the students, and the questions and stuff. So it's fantastic, and I'll continue to do that as well.
Yeah, you mentioned like earlier the seed conference that we worked on. I think that was seed 4, and
Hmm.
uh, man, you came in for me on that. So I was helping out on the back end. For people that don't know, you could find the Seed Truth Academy. Just type it in there, search it. Maybe we'll put that in the resources for this since we talked about it. And uh, man, I remember like it was like the last day or so before we started, and I had a bit of it together, but I was missing motion graphics and good transition stuff. And you drop this like folder on me of just like, here's a bunch of magic stuff that I created for the Seed conference, and I'm like, it totally saved the event for me as far as the value that we provided on the production. So um, I don't
That
think
worked out great.
yeah, that really did work out great. Yeah,
And that was a fantastic conference. So, I
yeah.
mean, Brandon, you being on the back end with, with the controls and stuff. And it was just seamless. And it just there's so much good information. I mean, people, I always kind of talk about the Seed conference and even the earlier funnel conferences, because it's like, don't forget about those. Like, people can go and experience the whole conference all the way through and see the production, see all the education and the phenomenal content. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, it's mind blowing, and me sitting
Yeah.
there being able to kind of, I really am focused in the whole time. A little bit nervous of like you were talking about technical issues, and when those happen, you've put on conferences. Yeah, everything has to work. If there's one issue with anything in the flow, I mean, you can have backup methods and systems, but still, there's just so many things that can go wrong. So
Yes.
having you help me with that was awesome, and then. Uh, you mentioned, well, there was a couple things there, but the One Great Work Network you brought up and your help there. Tell me a little bit about how you got involved with the One Great Work Network, and now, I mean, your involvement now is you're basically the back end person for the One Great Work Network, as far as production goes and keeping things
Mhm.
moving and jumping in and rebooting things when they need to be. Go check out the
Yeah.
onegreatworknetwork.com, everybody. But yeah, tell
Absolutely.
me a little bit about how did you get started into that?
Yeah, so actually, within that first seminar of how to become the true media, I met Mark personally in 2019 at Anarchadelphia, and then shortly after that, a few months later, he had the first seminar of how to become the true media. So it was just conversing with Mark, and I also knew Leah Boone, which was Mark's assistant at that time.
Leah's awesome.
And Leah asked me, "Hey, Will, do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do that?" And sure, I can do a graphic or I can just help out. And I continued to offer my services to Mark, right? I mean, on things that I could do. And while learning certain things as well, like you mentioned those animations, like I was learning how to do that stuff and putting it together for the Seed conference, and it came out really nice, and it was like cool. So I'm learning as I go. I'm increasing my skills, helping Mark out as I go. Fast forward a few years, now it's time for the creation of the One Great Work Network. It came together, I think, really well. And Mark's looking to onboard people all the time. And yeah, I do some back end stuff. There's live shows, there's live productions, and all that stuff has to be, there's a producer for that. There's video uploading. There's all kinds of just back end tech stuff, as you know, right? You're savvy with that, and it takes help. So, I try to help out
Yeah.
Mark when he needs it, where I can, and offer any kind of skill sets.
No, that's one of the reasons I actually wanted to reach out to you, and then it got me like, well, why don't we just do an interview? But I want to help more with anything that I can help with. So just let me know. Maybe we can have like a separate call or something. I was thinking we could set up like back end monthly calls, like a coffee talk or open door sort of thing. And I know there's some new
Hmm.
people onboarding right now, so maybe
Perfect timing.
offering them some forum. I mean, I know we're there in Gilded, and anyone here who needs any help, reach out for sure. But
Excellent. Yeah, no,
it's also a
perfect
pretty good
timing.
system.
Perfect
Like
timing.
it's really a cool idea, the One Great Work Network, and it's very autonomous. Yet there has to be the people still at the wheel that are gonna make the thing work, right? And I've had a lot going on with myself, but no excuses. I want to be there to make this project work as well. And, I know there's also a lot of drama out there and people trying to pit people in this network against each other, and
Yes.
a lot of garbage talking, a lot of shit talking basically online that I'm seeing. And,
Oh yeah.
that's also, I wanted to get out there and have some conversations out in the open. And I'm not going to be, delving into the sewage of the Facebook ghettos of, getting in debates with people who would rather, talk shit about other people's work than focus on their own work, or focus on something else. Like, if you have a legitimate
100%.
argument, that's one thing. But I think a lot of people are trolling, trying to find problems with individuals. And anyway, I wasn't gonna even. I don't know why I'm bringing that up exactly, but I think
It,
you've seen it.
well, that's the thing. I'll touch on that real quick because it's like ramping up, and it's something I shake my head out because number one, I like to be very conscious on where I invest my energy, right? And somebody that spends a lot of time doing something, that says a lot about them, right? So when I see people talk about, oh, they have the truth about the One Great Work Network, or they know what's going on with Mark or with Will Keller or whatever, right? And most of it is just BS. People just instigating and starting crap because, hey, let's be honest, drama sells. So people like watching soap operas. So again, when it comes to like the network, there's Mark, the owner, the creator. There's me, and there's maybe another person that do the back end. Like people think they know what's going on in the One Great Work Network, and they have no clue. They have no idea whatsoever. And so yeah, so I my point being is that when people listen to these kind of rants, right? First, you need to question that. You just don't take someone's word for it. Like I see so many people just going, "Oh, wow, that's crazy." And then they run with it. And it's like, "Oh my gosh, talk about blind belief." Or they know why Mark is, upset or going on a rant. And they have no idea, no clue. And that's, what I just said is what Mark's been saying for years. And it's true. And I think people need to question themselves where they're investing their energy. And I like having community. I value people that I know, like you, Tyler, and people that I can build relationships with. But I am here for a mission, and that is to educate the public. I'm not trying to, banter back and forth in, quote unquote communities on he said, she said type of stuff. I want to literally give people information so they can do the same thing and they can become educators themselves. So, investing our energy is important, very important. And that's something that people need to kind of consider.
Your own path involved a pretty rough start as far as what you said. It came out of your music career, and how did you like pull out of that spiral? I mean,
Mm.
I hear this story a lot, not with just people around our neck of the woods, so to say, but in general with people that are doing really great work now, seem to have had struggles with drug addiction or relationships. Um, how do you pull out of that and end up running a conference like Funnel?
Mm.
And like, what is the transition point? How do you get from rock bottom? I don't know if you would say it was rock bottom, but to, and then tell me a little bit about the what is Funnel.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and that's a great question. It was rock bottom for me. Um, and the interesting thing about rock bottom, it's when you're in that moment, you're not telling yourself, "Oh, I'm at rock bottom." You recognize rock bottom when you're looking back at that time after you've already climbed out, right? You have to climb out and then stand on the edge and be like, wow, that was rock bottom. That was a low point for me. So looking back on that now, absolutely, it was a low point, and it was a very interesting time period because it was also, well, one of the catalysts to kind of, get my shit together was I was becoming a father. And that was really the smack in the face, within those 8 months of, my daughter's mother, my partner at the time being pregnant, to kind of, to get my stuff together. How I got into that situation was really lack of discipline of myself, mentally and physically, because coming off of a music career where, wherever the party is, you're going to go. Doesn't matter if it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, work night. You're in that mode. So it became habit to just go out and party and, have a few more drinks, pop a few more pills. What does it matter? But you do that, right? If that's a lifestyle and that is habitual, then of course, when it comes time to switch that up, it can become a big problem, right? Because now I'm finding myself into physical addiction. Primarily, it was opiates is what it was. The drinking was never really an issue. I quit that, and I really don't drink to this day. But having that physical withdrawal, it was such a slap in the face because I was at work. I made the choice. I'm not going out. I'm going to be a father. I need to change my ways. And I'm at work and I get sick. I'm feeling like crap and I have no idea what it is. And I really don't get like a cold or flu, very rarely. And I didn't understand why I was feeling like crap. And then it dawned on me, oh man, I'm going through physical withdrawal. That was a scary time period because now I'm in the unknown. I had no intention in being into this arena. And what do I do to climb out? But I went back and forth in that state of trying to become sober, falling off the wagon, and that was my own personal purgatory in those 7-8 months, right? Because I just didn't have the mental fortitude, the discipline, the will, or even the knowledge of my own psyche to correct my thoughts, emotions, and actions. So I was just in this feedback loop of trying to become sober and falling off and dealing with this physical, dependency. It was really brutal. All along, though, still going to work, paying a mortgage, kind of doing my adult responsibilities. It was very much internal where I was having this turmoil. I mean, there was family and friends even to this day that were just like, man, I never knew you were going through that. I was able to hide it very well, even though every morning I was looking in the mirror scared, in full-blown fear, thinking like, man, I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack today. I can't get pills. I'm going to go through withdrawal all day. Like, it was brutal. It was really brutal. So then learning I was going to become a father, that was the catalyst, right? So I'm going through that when I find out I'm going to be a father. And what I did before I even really knew what quote unquote shadow work was, I started writing down my thoughts that I was having and my behaviors and my choices. It's kind of very similar to how I make a presentation, right? I'm going to work, I'm going about my day, and I started journaling. What that made me do, it made me recognize patterns on why I would fall off the wagon. Or, I was sober for several days, maybe a week, and then let me take one more. Why? Why did I make that choice? So I would just journal everything for several months, and I was able to recognize patterns in my thought processes, recognizing the relationship that I was in was not healthy as well, the romantic relationship, my own insecurities and failures, all these kinds of things. That also was so enlightening for me to kind of walk this path within my own psyche. That journey, I externalized that, and I was seeking information on psychology, on spirituality, on consciousness. I wanted to know why. I already was already on that path of why I do what I do. Why is the world like it is? What is the nature of reality? These big, deep philosophical questions. And that took me through the New Age movement, but then very quickly took me into the realm of occultism. And I was going through the majority of these mystery traditions and finding out and just educating myself on these mystery traditions and finding patterns like I was doing within my own psyche, taking notes and finding patterns. Then, of course, fast forward a couple years, I come across someone like Mark Passio, which just tied it all together. And those patterns and those commonalities that I was seeing in the mystery traditions, which was natural law, universal law, the laws of nature, right? Depending on what tradition, they're using this phrase, which I liked very much, and I wanted to know more about that. Mark just sealed the deal and gave clarity to all of that type of information. And that is what launched me. After that, it was educating myself on morality, the one great work, and my moral obligation. So I know I was long-winded, but that's the that's the whole story. So, funnel.
Yeah.
During COVID, I met Mark in 2019, Anarchadelphia. I started doing how to become the true media, but then I also put a post on Facebook in a Facebook group, Mark Passio Natural Law, that I was adminning, and asking people, hey, I want to meet up with like-minded individuals. I'm ready to start doing content. Let's hop on Zoom. And some people took me up on that offer. And I met the first people of our support group, which we would meet every Sunday during, the whole scamdemic, where we would just, confide in each other. We would talk about just the stuff we were learning, natural law, freedom. And after a few years of doing that, a couple years, we decided, hey, we've developed this relationship in this group that we have. Let's take action together as a group. And we came up with a conference, and that was the first Freedom Under Natural Law conference. And it was, hey, you have these skill sets, I have these skill sets, and again, learning as we go. And that is, to answer one of your questions, that's the theme of kind of my whole journey. It's acting, making the choice and acting, and being conscious of the journey itself, meaning learning as you go and bettering yourself. So when we did the FUNL conference, I was the only one that had somewhat had technical skills on how to stream a conference, but I still had to learn myself and practice and war game on scenarios and put that into action. And so that's where it started. And I think that's a good lesson for people to understand. Too many people sit in that in-between stage of wanting to know it all, want to master all the skills or a certain skill before they even start. In reality, it's understanding your direction, making that choice, and then activating, meaning go. Put in the action. And grow and learn as you go, for sure.
Okay, so you can see here on the screen we're sharing. It looks like you've had 4 of these now. Is there plans to do a 5th?
Actually, there is. It's in the beginning stages. We're developing the outline now. And I won't say the title yet. I'm not sure if we're going to release it. But yes, Funnel 5 is in the works. And we are excited. And, Tyler, we have a lot of upgrades that we're going to do. So I know you and I have talked about you offering, assistance in the FUNL conference as well. So, keep your eyes open for that. We would love to kind of collaborate with you and use your skill sets as well to try to, make each future conference better than the last.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help. So let's do it.
Awesome.
I'll drop that. I'm gonna put Will's tap link or Linktree in the show notes. So as we're talking about these things, you guys can find all that as well in the links. Yeah.
Yeah, what was cool was the Funnel One, the first conference. It was just our group, right? Like we didn't reach out, externally to other people, other content creators until Funnel 2. And that was kind of like the deal. It was like, look, some of us were already kind of starting to do content, right? Like Chris Janston, Leslie Powers, myself. And then the other people, this would be the beginning, the initiation of them going public and making content. And that's kind of what the deal was. Like, look, we're going to do an event, but we all have to participate and create some type of piece of content. And that's where it started. And
yeah,
I'm proud of that journey. We learned a lot of lessons. Some people left. Some people have joined us since then. And it's exciting.
I mean, you got to have a lot of patience, right? And be willing to deal with a lot of different personality types and drama again.
Oh, yeah.
And really to plow through that, to keep it going. So that's awesome that you're doing that. And I can't imagine how much work that it is. I have not done something like this, but I have been involved, and I feel overwhelmed, just thinking about setting something like this up or a live, like in-person thing, which we'd like to do some of that here on the property, much smaller scale. But eventually, those skills, like we've been kind of threading back into this conversation, are what you can then use to do something like you did with that. And what about the Natural Freedom League? Tell us about the Natural Freedom League. Or is that what it's?
Yeah, that's the video podcast.
Yeah.
Roughly when I first started, it was those get-togethers and conversations with random people, whoever was willing. In late 2019. And then through that support group, I met a good friend of mine, John Rowland, and he wanted to take action. He was actually going out onto the streets in our area. We lived pretty close, and he was doing Moral Law Mondays, where he would live stream and hold signs, government is the root of our problems, and he had a booth, and he would engage with people. So we would join him on that. And then him and I decided, hey, let's collaborate and let's do a video podcast where we will interview people, and all focused and kind of centered around achieving freedom and natural law. And we did 80 episodes until we both kind of wanted to do individual work, and we kind of separated. I'm still good friends with John, and so yeah, that was a huge kind of leap, because again, we're doing title cards, we're doing editing, so I had to, we both had to kind of put ourselves out there and learn as we're going with that. Before that, I actually had an audio podcast, audio only. It was called 93 Phoenix. I did, I think, 11 episodes. And then I met John, and, I decided to do a video podcast. But one thing I actually failed to mention is the FUNL Conference was primarily inspired by the Seed 4 conference. So we were already having our support group, and we were already in talks about taking some kind of action as a group. Then Seed 4 dropped, and we're like, okay, virtual, right? There's a lot. It has its own set of hurdles being virtual, but it's definitely more doable than an in-person event. Let's try to tackle this. So you guys doing the Seed 4 conference really was the inspirational factor of creating an online conference.
Yeah, I think that's my name got dropped. So when I was working with Mark on the One Great Work Network, I think Brandon had reached out who could help us with some production, and I just happened to be there in motion, and he reached out to me, and I was honored to do that.
Yeah.
But the same thing, like I had to build up that skill set, and it started with things that I didn't really think that would lead me to there. So, I mean, that's like we were going back in the beginning of this conversation with we both have children at the age they're ripe for just consuming what they're interested in, right? And you can feed them and help them grow those skill sets early that
Hmm.
they're no doubt gonna need. I mean, I know you brought up AI. Like I'm getting my whole family like AI is in the workflow because it's not going anywhere. It's like, you
Correct.
know, of course I'm not pro techno communism or whatever the hell. I'm not a technocratic Palantir fan at all. Uh, but just like we're doing this now, this is not sponsored by Pfizer, right? We're doing this independently using technology that if we strayed away from it and said, well, but then they're gonna know who I am if we just put our work out under our names. We should make up weird names and go on Telegram and not ever be public, right? It's what
Exactly.
Ernest Hancock calls it publicy. Like we have our privacy issue, but what about the publicy? You know, what about
Yeah.
actually getting a way to get your voice out there and make sure that there's enough of us speaking out against what's going on at times when we need to, which is now, which is currently now. Hey, we got another guest on the show there.
Yep.
Um, nice. Yeah. So you also you have like somewhat of a knack for, or maybe a personal interest in helping animals. Tell us a
Oh
little bit about
yes.
that.
Yeah, and yes, this is great because I love animals. Being raised around a lot of animals, helping animals, like actually helping them in real life, and this is also part of like some of the drama people have like said. I couldn't believe when I heard that I raised GMO chickens that lay 10 eggs a day. That that's not the case. So my
Just to put it
animal
on the record.
companions, yeah, put it on the record. Put it on the record. I, I've always said that we are stewards of this planet, so we have this responsibility to help out, all life when that time comes. And sometimes you can help out an animal, sometimes you cannot. So I help, where I can. When I moved to this new place, or even at my old house, right? A baby possum fell in the pool. We had it for like 2.5 months, nurtured it, you know, had a vet tech that I knew come over and they said, oh, it's got brain injury. It's not going to make it. Nurtured it back to health, full recovery, hung out around the house for a little bit, and then it went about its business. So, and that happened a couple times. A squirrel, a couple possums. So it's not, I moved from the house I was to the house I am now. And when I moved here, there were free range chickens that have been living here for years, according to my neighbors. So they would, they're kind of roam around, and so I'm living here with companions, which was cool, which was nice. They migrated and left. The last chicken had a set of eggs, which I do not eat the eggs at all. There's roosters here, so I don't do that. It, if someone does, whatever, but I don't do that. And anyways, the chickens migrated to, I think, the other side of the property, and two eggs were left, and they hatched late, but the mom was already gone. So of course, in the middle of the night, I hear these baby chicks. I go out there and I take them in, right? I have this opportunity. Now, taking on chicks or cats, it's a huge task. And that's what I mean by someone's got to choose if they're going to intervene. If you can do it, that's great. I always recommend that. But then again, you can't take in every feral cat. You just can't, right? I mean, it's just unfeasible. It's not smart to do that either. So I have taken in a couple cats. One of them had babies, so we have two kittens around here. The baby chicks, one of them passed away. The other one imprinted on me and was raised with me and saw me as mom, which I've shown pictures and videos of this chicken sitting on my boom arm, and the chicken now has its own chick and comes in the house and says hi, gets some seed, goes out. So it does its thing. It's been part of the family. And so, yeah, that's my point. And I've been doing that for years, helping animals. And then, the cats assist with the cat, and then the cat leaves. That's fine. I'm not holding animals here hostage, but they become part of the family. My two dogs, one of them actually just recently passed away. We adopted those. So I'm all about, service to the planet and service to animals 100%. And so, yeah, but it's crazy that, I've talked about pretty much what I've said here, and then people say all these crazy things, about the GMO chickens and stuff like that. It's like, guys, I'm just a dude that lives on a place that chickens were here before me, and I help them out once in a while. Same
Gotcha.
with the feral cat community in this neighborhood. I help them out once in a while.
You're not
And I will
breeding
always do
GMO
that
cats?
wherever I move.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. GMO cats.
Yeah,
So,
I got a dog getting older too, and he's I got to start leaving him behind on the walks in the morning. He's getting to that point, and he still wants to go sometimes, but yeah,
yeah.
it's tough. Stewarding animals, livestock. I guess you could call chickens livestock, right?
Yeah.
There's different challenges involved, but yeah, I wanted to get it straight on the record that you're not producing 10 eggs per chicken per day, and
Yes.
I didn't know about that. I seriously didn't.
Oh my,
Uh,
yeah, I've heard some wild stuff. Will Keller's raising these GMO chickens that, I'll save you the gory details because it had all these attributes that were, describing
oh,
these
right,
chickens, and
right.
they have so many eggs, 10 eggs a day, and since they have so many eggs, I eat them or sell them, and it's just it's so ridiculous, right? And I'm not the person, even though I'm responding, I guess now, but that doesn't faze me. Like, I'm not going to go make a response video and invest that kind of time. I got other stuff to do. But you and I are talking, and we got to set the record
Yeah,
straight.
yeah.
I don't have steroid super chickens at my house.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's definitely room in philosophy to discuss all these matters. There's not like we are not supposed to talk about certain things or that we can't. But I think there's a tact for approaching people on issues. And I think some of the tacts, like we've alluded to, are just, it's not the method that's effective in whatever that person's trying to do. I'm not sure. Those people that are engaging in that kind of behavior. I think there is a way, and there's plenty of room for those discussions to be had, and we need to make sure that we're doing that if that's our prerogative, But
Hmm.
arguing with people online in threads, I really, I'm not going to engage in that. I may follow up with somebody making a fly by night comment to show that I'm not just going to just sit out by and let someone just leave a comment that's completely off base and is going to make the thread look like, okay, look at, like, there's garbage here in these threads, and maybe we could even make a comment back that's more mature, and other people read that and can see, like, oh, okay, there is a person having a dialogue here. It's not just a shit posting account.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I agree with you. Healthy pushback, and there in many of the categories that I discuss, and other people discuss, there's always room. That philosophical mindset is what needs to always be available for healthy discussion, healthy debate, Socratic debate. Like, I welcome pushback. I mean, it's part of kind of my content. I make content
Yeah,
to the
you're putting yourself
normies.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I simplify these concepts and I put them out to the normies, and there's going to be pushback, and that's totally cool. It's the parasitical dross or the attention seeking, that's very like I went to high school and I'm done with that. Like
Right.
we have better things to do
Yeah.
with our time. So, and I think it's healthy for someone to pick and choose. I get ridiculed because I blocked a few people. Yeah, I'll block people. I mean, if you're
Hmm.
going to troll me, I'm going to block you. If you don't want to have a healthy discussion or a back and forth, and you're just going to spam and slander my page, I'm going to block you.
Sure.
And that's my choice, right? But so many people get up in arms about these kind of things. It's like that is a psyop in my opinion. Sure, it might not be. Oh, it could be agent ran, but it's de facto psyop because that's where people are putting their time and attention and their focus and care.
Yeah. I think on X, I don't know if you spend a lot of time on X, but it seems like it's a really big problem there. Deciphering
Yeah.
what's real, what's not real, what's a bot account. When you see these streams that have so many watchers at one point, I'm like, okay, how many of those are bots? Like we know, because I don't have a traction on that account. Never really tried to grow it, and I'm pretty recent on there. It's there, so I have it as an outpost to post my content, right?
Yeah.
But I'll get messages from bots and follows from bots, and I think if you're really popular, you don't notice it because it kind of mixes in with everything else you're doing. But for someone like me, it's like it's obvious what's going on because all it is like porn spamming or like some kind of scam spamming person trying to get you to see what they have on their page, right? Which is like links back to some chat thing or something. Anyway, yeah, it's a big problem. Social media. I don't know. It's gone. It's insane. It's insane what people
Yeah.
are spending their time doing all day, and wasting so much time. I've got a new trick, which is I only allow myself to scroll when I'm going to the bathroom. So it's always very limited, and I don't scroll other times. Recently,
There you
anyway.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all the social media platforms are very artificial. There's really no, organic aspects from it, right? From the viewership to, I'm not, there might have been some kind of study that said something like 80% of the accounts on social media are bots. I remember reading something like that. But
Yeah.
it's just, I use it as a promotional tool, right? It's like, look, live presentation. This is where you can find me. Or, I will do some posts trying to grab people's attention. But everything is to try to get someone from one of those platforms to my website. So I use it as a funnel stream
Right.
if it works.
Yeah. Right. Totally. That's the way I obviously like I think Facebook's somewhat useful for friends and family items, but
Mm.
yeah, I did an episode on basically how it's LifeLog, DARPA's
Mm.
LifeLog program.
Yep.
Everything we have is a government program that was eventually reformatted to then be released to the public. So when they give us AI and they say, here's what we have now, that's not what they have now. That's the version that you're allowed to play with. And what they have is so far above and beyond and advanced what you think they have that
Hmm.
it would blow your
Absolutely.
mind. And, it's people are worried about the tool we're having now. You don't understand. Like, yeah, I mean, but what are we going to do? Just lay back and get our asses kicked because all the tools are created by the government? That's a
Yes.
pretty lame excuse, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Have you seen have you seen the Westworld series?
I haven't.
You haven't? Ooh, it is good.
Yeah.
Primarily seasons 3 and 4 because it's seasons 1 and 2 is about kind of the AI Western world amusement park that they created. But seasons 3 and 4 is in the external world of present day. Somebody can go through that and watch how they're running society. I mean, it's a glimpse in the future, 100%. It's mind blowing. I mean, there's a central AI hub that has get through social media. Of course, in the series, the timeline is about 20 or 30 years ahead from where we're at now. It's like I can't remember the actual date, but there's a central AI that has gathered all the information on everyone through social media, and it actualizes someone's life. So if someone is born, it has a social credit score. It shows what type of job that person's going to get, who it's going to marry. It does all of these things. So it's pretty much dictating everyone's life. And people think they're choosing certain things, or they didn't get that job and they got this job by chance or by the illusion of choice, right? Really, it's the state, this AI that is running the world and is, dictating everyone's life events. And I'm just giving like a brief little segment of it. And there's a lot of good key points. It's good for if someone wants a really good allegory, they should check that out.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. I'll definitely check it out. I think I've heard of it before, so I don't think you're going to lose out on if I don't like it, that I won't trust your recommendations. Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was loud.
It's like Grand Theft World?
No, I was actually this is a clip kind of that goes in line with what you're saying. I was wondering if you wanted to take 5 minutes and watch it. It's kind of a longer one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Give you also a sec to grab a drink or run to the restroom if you want.
Perfect.
If you have a way to listen to it while it's playing.
Yeah, I'll mute and then I have external speakers.
We could do that, and then it's in line with what you're saying. That'll give me a sec to check my AC. It seems kind of like it got hot in here all of a sudden, but I think that's just how it goes with all the computers running.
Oh, yeah.
Let me share this correctly. It's one that, I don't know if you're familiar with Greg Reese and his work at all.
Yeah. Yes. He does great work.
Eventually, I'd like to get him. I like his podcast as well. He does like more of just like a relaxed sharing his thoughts podcast. But he also
interesting.
has a...
Yeah, I'm not familiar with his actual podcast.
Yeah, and he'll send out his videos on the Reese Report. He obviously used to be on like InfoWars more at like a guest host there. He's since basically, split, I think, in a lot of the views he had from what Alex Jones, sees the world now, which is like rah, 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 Trump. Like Greg Reese is a lot more critical of everything, including Trump and everything. But yeah, so let's see. There's that, and yeah, I'll see you back here in 5 minutes then.
Excellent.
Okay, cool.
The frontmen for AI deployment have all fomented fear into the mainstream narrative.
I think if this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong.
Regulations are really only put into effect after something terrible has happened.
That's correct.
If that's the case for AI, and we're only putting regulations after something terrible has happened, it may be too late to actually put the regulations in place. The AI may be in control at that point.
You think that's real? It is conceivable that AI could take control and reach a point where you couldn't turn it off and it would be making the decisions for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
No, that's definitely where things are headed, for sure.
Former Google CEO Eric Schmidt says that every government is now engaged in a race to build robotic AI military systems.
For thousands of years, we've had the notion of stereotypically a man and a gun fighting another man and a gun, or with a horse, or what have you. We're now breaking that connection forever. So all of a sudden, the logic of everything that we in our military do just doesn't make any sense, right? You should be building attritable, automated robotic systems for defense and offense.
This is what Palantir is developing in the Middle East, a robotic AI human killing machine. And it is what President Trump is developing in the United States with Peter Thiel, a name with a fitting anagram for MAGA's technocratic poster child, the reptile. Peter Thiel shows no sympathy for the genocidal murder he is helping execute with Palantir, and he believes the future is transhumanism.
a number of people deeply involved in artificial intelligence see it as a kind of mechanism for transhumanism, for transcendence of our mortal flesh. Is it hype? Is it delusion? Is it something you worry about? I think you would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit in
this. Should the human race survive?
Yes.
Okay.
But the ideal was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body. A transvestite is someone who changes their clothes and cross-dresses. And a transsexual is someone where you change your penis into a vagina. And we can then debate how well those surgeries work. But we want more transformation than that. The critique is not that it's weird and unnatural. It's so pathetically little. And we want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind and change your whole body.
Science fiction author Isaac Asimov wrote The 3 Laws of Robotics in 1942. All of which were based on doing no harm to humans, and all of which have already been broken. While the U.S. president pushes a 10-year moratorium on any AI regulation, the experts push fear, and Peter Thiel explains why.
You have been giving talks recently about the concept of the Antichrist. What does that mean to you? What is the Antichrist?
In all these Antichrist books, people wrote, how does the Antichrist take over the world? He gives these demonic, hypnotic speeches, and people just fall for it. And so it's this plot hole. The way the Antichrist would take over the world is you talk about Armageddon nonstop. You talk about existential risk nonstop, and this is what you need to regulate.
You're saying the real Antichrist would play on that fear and say, you must come with me to avoid Skynet, to avoid the Terminator, to avoid nuclear Armageddon.
Yes.
It just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done, how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe, but
Greg Reese reporting.
He looks like a lizard too.
Oh yeah.
Like a little bit, right? And did you see when Dan Dix caught him at the Bilderberg conference? Did you catch that?
I did see that.
Yeah.
I did see that. That was great.
And he put a big hustle in his step when Dan started asking him about Epstein and AI and what they're building. It's like, why can't you just be human for a second and just be like, yeah, this is what we see is the right way to go. And, we think that this is a safer thing for humanity to do or whatever. Wouldn't that be an answer that you'd have in your back pocket when I guess they're just trained or something not to say anything, especially at the Bilderberg conference, right? Which was supposed to not exist. I guess there's another... I don't know if that was like Alex Jones that exposed that necessarily, but definitely Bohemian Grove, I guess. But
yeah, it's it's a trip. It's so right in front of our face, but yet most people are just willfully ignorant to it, right? I mean, they say they don't have these meetings, and yet there you go. There's tons of footage. The Greg Reese, that little segment was fantastic, and you saw how hard it was that was Peter Thiel, right? That was talking about saving, like, should we save the human race? Or he struggled.
Doesn't have an answer,
Didn't have an answer, exactly. That's because they don't want to. They want to rebuild, reconstruct, or modify human beings into the image that they want.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's well underway. Again, like we were talking about with, what they're doing versus what we have, the tools that we think, oh, this is the leading edge. And I don't think it's just the vaxxed folks that have the problem, because I think that they're not that limited in their scope with what their agenda is. Let's just put it that way. I think we're going to have to do a lot more to fight back, including in the invasive technologies that they're trying to put in all of us. And it's not going to require you going in and getting a Neuralink. I think they let Elon go out and present his Neuralink as it like, here's what we may do, right? And he was even laughing when he did it. I wish I had that clip ready to go. But I think as soon as he released that, they came out and said, okay, that was cute, Elon, that's what you thought we were going to do. But here's what we're really doing. And they showed him, the real plans. Because you notice he's not pushing that concept anymore. It's not a big... I mean, maybe it is in the medical field, and I think that's the Trojan horse. But again, they wouldn't do that excuse doesn't fly. I did a series called the Bio-Psy-War to try to get rid of they wouldn't do that excuse for like 10 episodes. I went into here's all the things they've already done, treating you like a lab rat and having no problem putting things inside of you without your consent, without you knowing, fluoridation of the water, right? A forced medical treatment on the public. They don't have any issue. And now, with the AI, I don't know if you have any specific comments on that video. It was a nice intermission. Came out today from the Reese report. I know it wasn't exactly in line with what we've been talking about, but...
I agree with everything that you were saying. And by the way, your series, the Bio-Psy-War, was fantastic. But
Thank you.
This transhuman, see, it's all about the control of perception, right? So, and it's such an old playbook that works flawlessly, and they're always going to use it. And it's exactly pretty much what you were just saying, right? They control or manage the perception of the public. The public thinks, oh, AI is just coming out, it's going to be scary, where they're leagues ahead of that. So it's the Neuralink, all this tech, the food and the water, the air, like all this stuff's already in all of that stuff, right? All of those aspects.
Yeah, the mRNAs and everything now. It's all over the food.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So they are well on their way for that, and I think my opinion on that is they're not going to deviate from that plan until they have reason otherwise, and that reason, in my opinion, obviously is more people understanding this, understanding the cause, right, the solution, understanding what morality is, understanding morality and natural law. That's the answer for people to remove the illusion and the veil over their perception, right? There's still the physicality and the action that's involved there too, right? Because if more people, let's just say, let's play it out, all of a sudden the majority of people, or a good portion of the people, are talking about the causal factors, and the agenda is being exposed. They're not just going to go, oh, you got us, you got us, you guys win. No, they are going to launch I would say, their last ditch attempt, which would be a global catastrophe, to knock people back to the 1700s. Most people don't have those skill sets or that knowledge to grow their own food, to defend themselves, to build shelter, all these basic necessities, and they would die off. So it would knock the collective consciousness back a long ways. And who knows? Maybe they want to do that anyways, because now you have less people to manage. But the numbers of people, they definitely want to control or manage their perception, right? Perception management is behavior control. So they'll take, 7, 8 billion people that are doing what they want. That's just generating more and the more loosh, or the type of energy they want to accomplish their goals. But if they have to, they will absolutely, they have backup plans, right? That are very kinetic and very hands-on as well. So the public needs to stop falling. They need to see through the facade that is being spoon-fed to people is the problem. And information like you've talked about in your work, and other people, even like Greg Reese, this interview, I mean, I asked a family member if he even knew who Peter Thiel was, and he had no clue who that person was. Yet I just got a 30-minute earful of some left and right. He leans liberal, so it's, the Republicans are doing this and blah, 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 and Trump should die and all this kind of stuff. It's like, dude, you're a puppet in your awareness and your perception. And that's where a good portion of people are, and that's where they want to keep people.
Yeah, so, I mean, how do you bridge that gap when you're having a discussion? I'm sure you've had discussions with people in person, online, and proposing natural law as a solution. And I was just thinking about this driving home, but people just immediately then pit it against what we have now, and then they're like, well, how do you replace? I don't understand. So like you just said, this evolution in consciousness to somebody who's, well, you must be a Trump supporter if you said this, or I guess that means you're on the left, like if they're in the left-right paradigm, right?
Yeah.
I know that's something you and I share, is our goal to spread the alternative solution. First of all, what is it that makes you unique that you're able to see this stuff and go down the rabbit hole of philosophy to come up with this philosophical, consistent answer that can be argued and put forward, and you can show back to where you're coming up with this argument, versus someone who doesn't even understand their argument and their solution is government, tyranny, left, right, let's bring more tyranny into the equation and see if that solves it.
Yes,
what is it that got
absolutely.
you to be able to not be that way? And then what is it you're doing now? It sounds like you're doing, you've been doing a lot of work towards helping people see the solution. So I guess that's part of the answer you're going to give, but.
Yeah, no, great question. What makes me unique is my upbringing, and I love my parents. My parents, I mean, their awareness can increase as well, but my family always saw authority, government, as illegitimate. I'll say it because that's exactly how they acted. They wouldn't use those words. They just didn't want to have. They didn't want any trouble from them, but they didn't want to have to deal with them. So there were values like morality and truth that were high up on the list growing up, right? Being nice to a police officer was on the bottom of the bucket. I mean, my grandpa was a straight anarchist, went to jail for tax evasion. So seeing the immorality of government is something that was kind of propagated throughout my family, even though it wasn't articulated that way. So these moral principles and values is what was, at the top of the pyramid, or the foundation in my family. So growing up, I always thought, even as a kid, government was a joke, right? Even police officers, order followers, the police and military, it was always just like doing the bidding of someone. Now, I wasn't philosophical at all, really, until I got to the later years of my life. These were just attributes that I was kind of raised around, that stuck with me, right? Never voted, never even considered voting. My parents never voted. They don't care to vote whatsoever, right? Because it's all a farce to them. And they just don't even want to pay any attention to it. So that's how I was kind of raised. And I think being raised on... You want it? Oh, sorry. My daughter. Being raised on a ranch was the other component to that, because I'm outside in a way of culture. I'm in nature, and my parents were very nature orientated, right?
Wow.
Camping, survival skills, this kind of stuff. But what that did to me as a young kid, I remember thinking this, really young, that nature is the authority, right? Nature is this force, all of it. I mean, it's not just, the public or the normies think that, oh, it's the birds, the bees, the mountains, and the streams. Like, no. It's the forces, the laws of nature. It's everything, that the expression of the divine. That is something that supersedes humanity, government, a shiny badge, all of that kind of stuff. And I saw that at a young age, so that had a huge impact on me. So coming into this kind of awareness was more of a confirmation, and was more of defining what I already felt and already have come to know from when I was young. Now, how can I utilize that and transmute that into my work? Well, my motto is simplify the profound. So although I love philosophy, I love metaphysics, like real deep metaphysics, but I'm also very grounded, and I like simplicity. Simplicity is divinity, right? Nature isn't, doing math equations. She's just, a barefoot hemp skirt chick. She's very simple, but precise and true, right? And immutable. So I like taking these bigger concepts and then distilling them down. And this is kind of an attribute that I learned from Mark. Mark taking all, the hidden occult knowledge and then simplifying that so average people or, the general public can comprehend. That is kind of what I've embraced first, just making content and people saying, oh, you're good at explaining this or that simply. And I go, okay, cool. Check that off. I guess I am decent at that. I'm going to pursue those attributes. And now it has become my motto. When I'm engaged with people, like the conversation I was having with my uncle, I like to apply the Socratic method. Now, there are just some people, first and foremost, I ask questions to gauge someone's level of awareness or the angle that I can, interject. Someone might be a religionist, or they might be more new agey, or more analytical or material, right? Those components, those characteristics gives me great insight on how I'm going to convey, the laws of creation, natural law, the metaphysical realm, right? Try to talk metaphysics to a materialist, and they're not going to be receptive whatsoever. So, but yet you can still engage in those conversations by the angle and by the questions that you ask. So the Socratic method, for instance, my uncle playing into the left and right dialectic, right? He doesn't know who Peter Thiel is. He doesn't know anything. He kept talking about Agenda 2045 or 2025?
Oh, yeah, the Trump thing.
The Trump
Project
thing.
2025 or something, yeah.
Project 2025, right? That's like the end of days to him, right? He thinks it's everything's collapsing and we're going to be enslaved then. He's got no clue about, the Event 201 or the Agenda 2030, any of those things.
Agenda
So he's
21.
in a small... Yeah.
It's like this Project 25 thing came out of nowhere, and they used the naming to kind of like get it through the firewalls, right? Because people had heard there's conspiracy stuff's big now. I'm on, when I do scroll through social media, all kinds of people are using conspiracy stuff to get the algorithm, it seems like, to pick it up now. So now certain stuff's, oh yeah, conspiracy, Project 25, and these other things that are not. Okay, let's go 9/11, let's go, JFK, some of the good old, Gulf of Tonkin, something. No, not those ones. This, stuff or Iran, right? Oh, let's all be worried about Iran.
Dude,
Meanwhile,
that's such a great point.
look at this Greg Reese clip. This is this type of stuff we need to at least be on the forefront of in some way, because you got to wrap your head around how horrendous it is and immense to be able to begin to then perceive a way to solve it, right? Which also requires a very open mind and someone who can admit they were wrong, someone who can change every day and try to get better every day and realize, oh my God, there's a gap here and I don't have it figured out. So tell me, Will, about animism.
Oh, excellent. Animism, the missing component, is what I like to talk about that, right? First, we have to kind of define what animism is, because again, it's one of those words that when you say it, the majority of people have their own perceived mental definition. They think it's primitive, it's indigenous peoples or cultures that are animists, and yet that is true, but it's not primitive. It's primitive in the sense that it is the default, the original operating system or worldview that human beings have had. So it's primitive, meaning it's ancient. From the beginning of time, human beings have been animists. The majority of human beings today are still animists, right? This is a default human condition, and I'll explain this. So animism, the word, is derived from Latin anima, which means spirit, breath, life force, energy, right? So even the anima and the animus is a psychological term, right? That means the left and right hemispheres of the brain. It also refers to, symbolically, to mother and father. So animism is a perception, is a worldview, first and foremost, right? We could separate what people would try to do and put them together would be paganism and animism. Animism would be the perception or the worldview. Paganism is the operation or the practice, right? Which paganism is just a derogatory term given by, by Christians back then, right? They didn't call themselves pagans. So animism is viewing the world from energy and consciousness, that everything is alive and that we are interconnected with the whole system, with nature. We are not separate. We are a part of nature, and everything that we do influences the whole system, the totality. So that even inanimate objects, right, have some type of characteristic or energy to them. If I build something, here's a good example. Someone's car. How many people give their cars a name, or their car has a style inside, or even their home, right? It has a certain type of vibe. It's an extension. It has energy to it, also called feng shui, right? In the Asian cultures. So this is a type of energy that is an extension from us. But everything having life and spirit coming from source or creation, this is the worldview that the indigenous peoples had. This is also the reason why when religion, the cultural religions, started to become a thing, this is why their religion and even their holy doctrines are based upon the teachings of animism. And animism, the teachings, can change their relative in each culture. Yet we can see these objective similarities cross-culture, cross-time and place, because animism is all about observing and coming to know nature and coming to know the forces and the attributes of nature, right? So this is why something like astrotheology, the story of the sun, the moon, and the stars, and how it is put into a amorphized storyline, right? So that's all part of animism. Mythology is mythos is story with logic. This is all derived from animism, and animism is based upon the worldview. So since time immemorial, humans have observed nature, and have recognized patterns and have come to know how nature operates on many different levels. Then they have conveyed that through many different means. In the earlier time, it was always oral, because oral has a vibration when you are speaking it versus writing it down. So that's why, when you're following the mystery traditions, when you're bringing it back down to their origins, it always comes from an oral tradition. So why is animism the missing component? In a world where materialism is rampant and this post modernization of the world, the metaphysical realm is not only overlooked, it's shunned, right? People don't want to hear about natural law, the unseen realm, but yet they believe in Wi-Fi and radio signals and all this kind of stuff. So they're cherry picking to understand, to have a deeper understanding of the unseen realm, and that our actions have an energetic effect that will generate a consequence. This is all part of utilizing the perception and the worldview of animism. So we can view our pets, we can view human beings, we can view behavioral patterns, and we can extract valuable information off of that unseen knowledge, off that energy and those levels of consciousness. So it's vital in my opinion, 100%, but it's all about demystifying what animism is. We look at nature. To me, nature is God, is creation, right? Nature is the ultimate mentor. If you want to learn how to do something efficiently, like filtering water or distilling water, just look to nature and how nature does it. If you want to know how energy flows correctly, that is most efficiently, observe nature. She does it flawlessly, right? You can understand all kinds of things, synergistic components when it comes to food, the seasons, cycles. All of this is derived from nature, and understanding that nature is the authority, right? And that nature is the ultimate mentor, is stepping onto the path towards freedom and higher awareness. Animism is that state of mind that can get us to see the forest from the leaf.
Thank you for that explanation. That was beautiful.
For sure.
So, how do we end evil?
Great question. How I define evil? Flip it around. You have live, right? So evil is live backwards. What does that mean? It means if you are living in opposition to that which is, to truth, to the flow and the harmony of nature, you are going to have negative consequences, right? Cause and effect. This is natural law. So to end evil, we must live in harmony, in accordance to nature and nature's laws, to natural law. And of course, natural law itself is a huge category. If we're going to fly a plane, we need to understand natural law and aerodynamics, right? If we want to know any type of electrical work, we need to understand natural law, the law of thermodynamics, of the dielectric, etc. When I talk about natural law, so it's physics and metaphysics. When I talk about natural law, I'm talking about a more important and foundational aspect, and that is human behavior. So we incarnate into this experience and we are going to interact with the world. What is the condition of those interactions? That right there will set the whole condition of one's life and of society. So understanding morality, the difference between right and wrong, is the foundation by which everything stands upon of society. Prosperity, freedom, health, everything stands upon that foundation of right and wrong, there's a right and wrong about health, right? You obviously need fresh air, clean water, sustenance. If you eat certain type of chemicals, you're going to get sick. It's cause and effect. So we can come to understand health better, and we can have an optimal vessel and body. Same thing with the societal level. Understanding objective morality, the difference between right and wrong, then we can actually apply that in our lives, and we can strive or step onto the path towards freedom. So of course, that is almost the philosophical component of the solution. Now, that can obviously expand on more people need to understand that the belief in human authority, since all injustice is derived from that, that is the hallmark, the driving force of the slavery system that we have in place. So it's getting down to that root problem, and that is people believe the system needs to exist. And people believe that it just is what it is, and human beings are just bad, and we have to have a system for our safety or our comfort. That all of those things they stem from the belief in human authority, that humans have the moral right to rule over others. So there is a logical progression. There is a stepwise checklist of knowledge and wisdom that humans need to understand and act within first, right? We can create all the decentralized systems we want, but if the belief in human authority still exists, they're all going to collapse. So that's the main focus of my work is, getting the snake by the head, getting to that causal factor. And for me personally, it is twofold. There is the public outreach of creating content and spreading this message to try to influence and motivate others. And there's also, I'm a man, right? I'm living this experience as well. So I need to take care of myself. I need to make sure that the influence, the relationship I have with my daughter is healthy, and I'm teaching her certain skill sets. I need to, learn skill sets where I can detach and minimize dependency on these systems as well. So it's mind and body. It's the mental realm, the metaphysical, and the physical realm as one system, right? And of course, mind, body, and spirit is that driving force, that anima, that is the life force that is either moving forward towards evolution or moving backwards towards evil in stagnation, death. So
simplifying the profound.
People need that because some people do, right? This is why there's more people need to do this work, because we need people like Greg Reese, we need people like you, we need people like Mark that are fire. We need more women in this endeavor. We need conscious parenting. We need all of these categories that are communicating those objective principles, the solution, how we're gonna, the governing dynamics of change. And we can do that in many different methods. And that's my work, is simplify the profound. A lot of people are physically and chemically hindered or stunted, right? So applying logic and reason, it's pretty much, non-existent in a lot of people. You have to speak to them plainly for them to get it. And that's not everyone, but, that's the path that I've chose for my work, is to simplify these profound topics.
Thank you for sharing. And your work, you mentioned you're a parent. How does it all tie together in where the rubber meets the road? Because I have children as well, and what they are is like little mirrors that actually amplify, not just reflect. And thank you to your parents for raising someone who could boil things down in a way that you just did, and be able, like you yourself attributed a lot of what you're able to see to your parents. So thank you to them. Your parenting style, how does it all translate? What are your thoughts on, I know you talk a lot about parenting in your work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great question. And the norm nowadays, I know you're not in this situation, that's awesome, but the norm is co-parenting, which adds a whole nother layer of mess, potentially, right? So that, there's that aspect as well. When it comes down to it, I'm responsible for my actions, and I can control myself, and I can control how I interact with my daughter, right? And just take responsibility for myself. I treat my daughter as an equal in many, many aspects, right? I mean, my dad used to say, like, "Oh, make sure you're the parent. Don't be your child's friend." And I'm like, look, I'm outside of that. I don't even view it as that. Like, I'm the authority, or we are friends. Like, yeah, of course, I treat her as an equal. I am the father. So there's certain things that I know, and there's certain things she knows. And we learn from each other. So that teacher-student dynamic is constantly going back and forth in this beautiful dance of learning. My daughter gets a lot of freedom. She gets a lot of freedom. And also, I convey consequence and cause and effect and morality and these objective principles that really all parents need to know and need to be in their relationship. I don't shelter the world from my daughter, even during the scamdemic. Like, I took her out with me into stores, and I wanted her to kind of see someone trying to violate me. Oh, you need to put a mask on, or you got to leave, and have her see me interact with certain people, along those lines. So we're very real world, hands-on, and it's all about, in this experience, this human experience, it's all about relationships. So it's about the condition, the quality of our relationship that we have. I fail, I succeed, she fails, she succeeds, and I go into it with an open mind, with that student-teacher dynamic, care, compassion, love, and respect. So we're unschooling, family as well. Her mother doesn't really want it that way, but self-directed learning is natural and is active, right? This is where a lot of people kind of, the normies, you're homes, or you're unschooling, or self-directed learning is like, do whatever you want to do. It's more hands-on, right? You have more involvement if a parent chooses that. So we're very active, and we do a lot of stuff together, and it's great. But she's coming to that age where autonomy and free will she's breaking away from the nest, and that autonomy needs to be honored, and her opinions and her choices needs to be honored 100%, and her rights, absolutely. So, when she doesn't want to do certain things, I will use communication, which is the foundation, of our relationship, and we talk it out. But that kind of stuff needs to be honored, and that's a truth that all parents need to face, is that your kid is going to break away from you and become their own individual person, and that process of leaving the nest has a psychological component, a metaphysical, an energetic component, and a physical component as well. So the stewardship, which is a parent, right? That stewardship, the more education a parent can have, the better that process and that dance will be. So, no parent is going to be perfect, but we can apply active practice 100%, and we can always do better, and that's what I strive for.
Putting the money where your mouth is.
Yeah,
I know
try
it's,
to.
I know it's not
She's
easy.
very, very well versed into what I do and the content. She's been to public speaking engagements where I did a speech in front of a whole bunch of people. Why she drew me, and she hangs out there. So she's very aware of what is going on in the world, for sure.
Okay, last question, because I know that you can go spend some quality time with your daughter, hopefully still. And
Oh yeah.
looks like some of the Sentinels got to the stream probably from the Greg Reese strip clip. No worries. We'll still get this out
Sentinels.
there. We're not, yeah, we're not adverse to being censored, to having those powers that shouldn't be tell me that I can't post certain things, which is why it's somewhat hard to find a history of my work when you go look, and it's for reasons like this. I mean, we're sharing what's going on in the world, and it looks like there was an issue with one of the streams anyway. And the reason we're streaming this is more to make it easier for me to post produce. We got backups. We're gonna get this out on the RSS feeds, on Odysee, on Rumble, IPFS. This video will be available for download. So, whatever.
Yeah. It's all we got to pivot, right? Especially in this tech age where there's so many hurdles and pitfalls. You got to have multiple skill sets. You got to be versatile, and so that's great, man.
Yeah,
that's great. You got all those options.
Yeah. Last question. What is the point of all this? Existence itself. Yeah,
great. I love this question. So, and I've thought a lot about it as well. In my opinion, we are here to obviously grow and learn and evolve. I actually take a hard stance, and I've gotten slack from this, saying that the meaning of life is the same for everyone. Purpose is relative for each person. If we are here, upon the context that we are here to learn and grow and evolve, the meaning of life is freedom, right? The meaning of life is freedom, that we are here to learn and grow, and we need to be able to freely express ourselves. If that is hindered or blocked in any way, right, then it stunts our progress of growth and learning. Right? So the meaning of life is freedom 100%. Now, our purpose is different for each of us, right? Some of us, I'm here, my purpose here is to do the one great work. It's also to be a father. It's to learn more about myself. It's to become a badass gardener. You can have multiple purposes. But the purpose is, what's the Norse term? The hamingja. Is the dharma, is the right action that you are tasked to do, that you are trying to strive for, to make you a better person, to help you learn those lessons. Like, what are you doing it for, to accomplish? That's the purpose. And someone's purpose can change at any point in life. My issue, though, is in this condition of slavery, where we are being stunted. We do not have a state of freedom where we can learn, express, and grow, then our purpose also is affected by that as well. Maybe Mark Passio is supposed to be a world-renowned bowler, right? But he's doing the one great work instead. Maybe I am supposed to do something totally different, but I invest a lot of my time into doing the one great work. So my purpose has changed because of the current conditions in this reality field, right, on Earth. And this is something that is kind of a hard pill for people to swallow as well. You may want to do certain things, but once you have the understanding of what really is going on in the world, you have that moral obligation to act upon that, to act towards the solution. And we do that because, number one, it's the right thing to do. And also, so hopefully we can accomplish that fleet of ending human slavery, so the future generations, the children, can have that freedom to learn, grow, and strive for their sole purpose, their dharma, their yamana. So that's what I think, what this is all here for. I do see a lot of Gnosticism floating around, where people talk about the demiurge and that this whole experience is a trap. I get why people say that, but that ideology is a way to just be fully ensconced in nihilism and take zero action. If anything is pointing towards you doing nothing, then it's totally false. It's not aligned with morality or truth. Because absolutely, in the face of slavery and tyranny and injustice, the right thing to do is 100% to act. So, the meaning and the purpose of life, freedom and what we do.
Very well spoken and very good parrhesia all throughout tonight. Well, I want to thank you for coming on and spending the time with me out of your schedule and giving your time and attention to the work that you do. The ripple effect from your work is definitely something that's happening. So I would look forward to seeing where your work takes you, and working shoulder to shoulder with you on the way. That would be excellent. Either way,
yes,
we're both going to be working. It doesn't have to be shoulder to shoulder, but as people doing this work, it's great to have other men and women next to us doing that work, and not needing, like you said, the different motivations to do this, and running the steam that you're running, shoveling that coal into the engine. I just want to say personally that I appreciate everything that you've put forward, and again for your time here tonight.
Awesome, brother. That means a lot, and the feeling is mutual. Likewise, I appreciate you and all the work that you have done and are doing. We'll be in touch, because we got some work for One Great Work Network that we need assistance with. So I'll reach out to you and FUNL, and it's a pleasure to be on your show. So thank you, and
Absolutely.
Thank you to all the viewers.
We'll have you back on too at some point. And where would you like people to go to find your work?
Yeah, I'll come back on anytime. So the hub, and I designed it this way, just go to willkeller.com. It's so easy, and you can get to all my work from there. Very easy to remember. All my presentations, my interviews. You can even get to my One Great Work Network page from there. You can get to FUNL. So I've, directed everything to that source, and that's willkeller.com. Reach out to me for clarifications, for collaborations, and thanks for having me on, bro. I love having this type of conversations.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon.
You too, bro.
Merkabra.